Is Rins one of those guys that Marquez also needs to worry about?
Thanks, Kev.
No
Um,
problem.
I honestly I do think that Mugello has shown us that the Suzuki with Rins on top of it is definitely a combination that Marquez needs to worry about. Right? He the strengths of both those parties of the Suzuki and Rins with the amazing tire wear and able to get to the end of the race essentially allowed Rins to not play the game of like slowing up Mugello. Right? Dovizioso and Marquez were both a little worried about the pace towards the end of the race and the tire wear. They packed up the field, and Rins was like, okay, cool. You let me get up to the front. Screw this. I'm going to try and pull away. He wasn't successful, but it definitely threw a wrench in the plans for the other racers. And he really did have the pace. He just needed to be, I mean, it was another second.
I think considering like how much he was giving up at any straight, let alone that front straight, like he did a really good ride to keep those three guys honest for the rest of the track. I mean, to come back from what, like 13th place to where he was, so at some point actually leading the race.
And when they upped the pace, they dropped everyone.
Yeah, but Rins was right there.
And they did not drop Rins. Rins was right there on clearly for that track an inferior bike. The Suzuki seems to be a pretty damn good bike. I mean, they won at Coda, pretty point and shoot. He's gotten podiums. It's looking good. Like I'm loving where Suzuki's at and where they're going and their commitment to all of that and Rins' development. It's an awesome storyline. But he had no business being where he was at in that race, that close to those guys. Those are two bikes that are fucking made and designed at that track. You know, that's their home test track. That's their listed test track. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And then, right, so you have the best bike on the grid, arguably, at its test track, and then you have the greatest rider of a generation, and there he is right there. Right there.
And the greatest rider of a generation that just got 20 more horsepower to keep up with the best bike at that track.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the current Suzuki, to me, is looking like the Yamaha from 4 years ago with better rear tire wear.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm still sad that I'm not seeing the regular Yamaha blue, but I'm starting to get behind seeing the Suzuki blue.
The new Suzuki blue.
It's strange not to see the Yamaha blue at the sharp end of the race, but you know what? Suzuki's picking up where Yamaha's left off, and I can get behind that.
And they painted their bikes black anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I mean. Trade one blue for another. I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, the Suzuki has definitely made humongous strides in things that they could be good at. Like, they're definitely still a little bit down on power. Rins was not really able to pass anyone down the front stretch. And he probably lost a little bit of time on all the other straightaways as well, but he was making it up in all the corners.
You think he would have fared better or would have been able to pull away had he not started so far back?
No, because I think the second they'd get to the straightaway, like he'd sit in the wind.
Dusted.
And they would just pull him back. So even if like, I actually don't remember if he ever spent an entire lap in front of the pack. But he'd pass into turn one or into turn two. He'd spend a little bit of time. They would get him back, and then down the straightaway, they'd all be in front of him again. Like, I think the pace or the drive and the motor out of the Suzuki was just not enough for him to sit in front and actually utilize that rear tire wear as best as possible. Like, he was getting blocked in half the corners. Anytime he wasn't in front, he was getting blocked and losing time. And that's just kind of, I mean, that's what we've seen out of the different motorcycles for the past couple of years, right? Some of them have the strength of corner speed. Some of them have the strength of the motor. Like, I mean, back when Marquez and Jorge Jorge was on the Yamaha, like, Jorge was saying, I can't do anything about the Honda because all he has to do is brake hard in the corner, block me, and get out of the corner, and I can't get around him. Because
throws the lines off completely because I need space for those lines.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened to Rins this time out at Mugello. I mean, I suspect it at other tracks it'll be different, and Rins might have an easier time of it. I mean, Catalunya, again, is going to have a nice 2 long straightaways. Yeah. That'll probably be a little difficult for him, but the other corners are kind of more closely linked, and maybe he'll be able to actually pull away a little bit more. And Catalunya too is going to be interesting with tire wear, and if the weather stays hot, we could end up with another Mugello type race here.
Mm-hmm.
where the Yamahas
could end up with
nowhere.
another Petrucci win. You never know. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Yeah, because didn't
Ooh.
Jorge win in Mugello and then Catalunya?
Yeah.
The week after.
Yep.
So there you go.
Damn. Speaking of a Jorge win. No, we already talked about Jorge Lorenzo. What do you guys want to move on to? Do we have